Okay, so now we want to install Windows, but we have a few cables to connect before that can happen. We're successfully into BIOS. Our cooling system is nicely cooling the CPU. I need to connect this power SATA connector to our optical drive. Now, it's a little bit difficult to, one of the things that's happening right now, I don't know if cameraman you can come over here and show, but if you look up there, you can see that the cooling apparatus is really close. So I don't know if I'm going to have to move this optical drive down. I'm going to try to keep it where it is. We'll see what happens here. But basically, let's see if this guy will fit. There's just enough space there. But it is definitely a tight fit. It might actually work if I try to pull this out a little bit. I wonder if I can do that. If I pull that out just a tad, it gives me a little more space to work around this cooling system. And then I can plug that right in. So that actually worked quite nicely. So now I can push the optical drive back in place. It's nice and snug in there. And I'm not sure, that probably should pop into place if I have this right, but it's not doing so. So I might have to read up on that. Anyway, so that's the first thing. So we got power to our optical drive. Pause. Okay, so the next step, of course, is to connect the data cable for the optical drive. So basically, this is going to fit in just nicely here. I think we have more room with the data cable. If I don't, I'm going to do the same thing I did before with the power, which is to pop this guy out. I think I have to do that again. Oh, okay. Actually, pressing down on that lets me pop it out. So that's the trick there. And then I can push in the data cable and then pop the drive back in there. And that seems like it's not putting too much pressure on the cooling system, so that's good. Next thing, of course, is I want to use the SATA 1 data right there. Or actually, that's SATA 2. SATA 1 I'm going to keep for the SSD drive. So right now, the other minimal thing we have to do, we have to get our SSD drive connected. So that's going to be the next step. Okay, so now we're going to connect our Samsung solid-state drive up to the MSI Z170a Pro Carbon. This is the SATA connector, data connector that we're going to be using. Now it's difficult to see from the angle I have, and probably impossible to see from the camera unless the cameraman moves around here. But basically what I have to do is I'm going to kind of feed this cable in here behind the power cable for now, and then I'm going to basically connect in right here. So that's basically the data connection. But of course the main problem is that the motherboard connection is around the front, so I'll need to route this probably through here, the same place where the power cable is going, and then I need to plug it into the motherboard. So yeah, unpause. Okay, so here's the data connector for the SSD drive, and of course it's a matter of just getting it into the SATA data 1, and that goes in like that. So we're in there. So now we have, I think we have the minimum that we need to do a connection. Oh, we have one more step. We have to connect actually the power for the solid state drive. So that's going to be the next step. Okay, so now we're going to connect the SATA power for the Samsung solid state drive. I've already finagled this cable through. This is a Type 4 connector on the other side for the power supply, and a SATA power on this side. I wasn't sure if I could get this this kind of a tight fit this way. I'm not sure if there's a better way to do this, but I think that this will fit. Okay, so that fits in nicely. The hardest part was actually just getting this guy to come through. There might be a better way to do this, but this does fit. Now, if we swing around to the front, we're going to have a little bit of cable management to do when we're all done with this, but for now, we have this Type 4 connector here, which is easy. It's very easy to plug that in, but we have a lot of slack here for additional peripherals if we eventually have them. For now, we're going to be tying this up so it doesn't get into trouble, but we can plug in the Type 4 right there. I think this is probably safe at this point to do a Windows install. And so I think that's our next step. Okay, so now we're going to try to actually install Windows on our Z170a Gaming Pro Carbon system with our Samsung terabyte SSD drive. But we're having a little bit of trouble, so we're going to show you some of the problems we're running into at this stage, because one of the purposes of these videos, the video series that we're doing here, is just to show how relative newbies can tend to get into some issues when creating putting together a good gaming system like this. So we start with some good components, but we don't always get things right. So that's one of the purposes of this video series. And at this point, we got our system running pretty well. We got the right case for our cooling system. We get into BIOS nicely. The CPU temperature is a nice cool 27, 28 degrees Celsius. Now we're going to try to install Windows 10. We have this little Windows 10 USB drive, which we're going to connect back here. So for one thing, I'm going to power this down to begin with, and plug this guy in. So I'm going to turn this guy off and put him back here. If you want to show this, Mr. Cameraman, I'm going to try to. I don't know which. If there's necessarily one of these USB ports is better than the other, but I'm going to try this one for now. I'm also going to make sure that my USB mouse and my USB keyboard are turned on, and hopefully, typically when when you have a good system that that's been fully debugged, installing Windows is not a problem. But I've had the situation before where when you start from scratch and you're putting components together, and for some reason Windows will not properly install. And that's the case we're dealing with right now. So we're going to show you first with Windows 10, and secondly with Windows 7. So I'm going to show you the process that we're using. If you know how to work around this problem, certainly please let us know in the comments section. So first thing we're going to do over here, we're going to turn on the power in the back and then power in the front. And so we're going to start booting up. We should immediately boot from the Windows USB. So let's see what happens here. Okay, so alright, so the USB drive is working perfectly. It says you get to choose 64-bit or 32-bit. This is a 64-bit system, so we're going into 64-bit, and we're loading files. So this part of it goes pretty well. So we know that the drive is actually active. Then it says Windows failed to start. Recent hardware or software change might be the cause. Fix the problem. Insert your Windows installation disk and restart your computer. Choose your language settings. So in other words, there's some kind of a problem that's apparent already. Click repair your computer. Now what I want to do is, because we have tried this process before, what I really want to do is I want to start from scratch. I want to reformat the drive and start over. So let's see if we can do that. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to do the reset, which is this button right here. And let's see if we can get this to go from, let's see what happens here. Okay, 64-bit again. It's telling you to do a repair, but I think not enough of the system is really on there to do a repair. We have not successfully done a full install yet, so I think that doing a repair would be the wrong thing. I could be wrong. Okay, so we still have another problem. we'll restart for you. So let's let Windows 10 do its thing and see if it can fix. I mean, so we have some issues that are going on, and we can start looking up these codes online and seeing what kind of progress we might make. So it's going to try one more time. 64-bit. So I'm going to see if we can make any progress whatsoever. You know, sometimes for whatever reason it does do a little bit different process each time. I'm not really sure what's going on behind the scenes, but basically I know we have some kind of a problem. And of course, I don't want to keep in this loop, but we're going to kind of restart. So at this point, I'm going to kind of consider that, okay, you know, something's not right here. Let me see if I can try something a little bit different. But it is clear that there's got to be some other way that we can deal with this problem. So right now I'm just going to shut it down. So that's Windows 10, an attempt to install Windows 10. So we can only get so far there, and then you know, basically there's no dice. Okay. The next step I'm going to try is, let's see if we can deal with Windows 7. I have tried to install Windows 7 and Windows 10 here, and in both cases I haven't really been successful at this point. Okay, so our first attempt to put Windows 10 to install via one of the USB ports didn't work. So we're going to fall back to Windows 7. I have an old Windows 7 installation optical disk, and we're going to use that. So let's power up, and let's use the optical drive here. And we'll try to boot from this way. We're going to see if we have any more luck. But obviously, you know, there's some kind of a problem going on. We haven't really sorted out what the problem is yet. So let's see what happens. So, okay, our BIOS seems to be working fine, which is great. I'm going to press a key here, and in theory that should get us to start booting from that optical drive. We do seem to be loading files, which is great, so we have basic functionality. Let's see how far we get here. But just we have tried both the Windows 10 and the Windows 7 previously, and so far we haven't had any luck. So we're just trying to basically document the problem. If you've seen this problem, let us know how you got around it. If you're stuck with it, let us know that too. We're going to do a little bit of debugging, obviously, and try to see if we can figure out what what's causing this. Okay, so here we are in the Windows 7. So we got a different, a little bit different. Windows 10 kind of kept us in a loop there. It was kind of restarting and restarting and restarting. I don't know what Windows 10 was really doing, whether it was trying to do some error correction. If it was trying to do any error correction, it wasn't really giving us a clue that it was being successful. Okay, so since we have tried to install Windows before, I'm not doing an upgrade. There's no successful installation of Windows on this system at this point. I think doing an upgrade would be pointless. I'm going to come here. You can see this is the these are all the partitions that were created by the attempt to install Windows 10. I'm basically going to go into drive options, and I'm going to do delete. I'm just going to delete all these partitions. I have tried formatting and then deleting. It doesn't seem to make any difference, so the main thing is I want to just start over with a fresh install. And so I'm going to do delete. Alright. Okay, so now we should be back where we're saying there's nothing good on this SSD drive. Let's just start over. So that's what I want to do. And let's see what happens here with Windows 7. Windows 7 actually seems to do a little bit better than Windows 10 USB drive. I'm not sure why. But the main thing is, we get to the 0%, it will actually start expanding the files, which is a good thing. So once it does get to the point of expanding files, you're making progress. However, what I've seen with this before, because I've done a few dry runs with this, is that it will expand to maybe about 25% done to 30% done, and then it stops. Initially I thought, well, you know, it's because we didn't have our cooling apparatus on and we were attempting to install Windows before we had that, and that was probably not a smart thing to do. But at this point, it's going to stay at 0% for a while. Let's pause it for a second. Oh. Okay, so we've waited a few minutes. I mean, actually I think it was probably 2 to 3 minutes, and it finally got to 1%. So I don't really know if there's actually hardware issues that Windows is trying to correct for, or, you know, because I don't really know at this low level of installation what's really going on behind the scenes. But you can see that the expanding Windows files is now happening. Now with Windows 10, we never even get this far. You know, especially installing from the USB drive, it doesn't even happen. So it's possible that with this MSI Z170a Gaming Pro Carbon, that you're not able to install from the USB drives, at least not right out of the box. Maybe we need to do a BIOS upgrade. Maybe the chipset can't handle a Windows installation like that. But we have a little more reading to do and research. So, like I said, if you have done this before and you know how to get by this stage of installing Windows, let us know, because we're going to be doing some research. Because even though we seem to be going successfully here and we're getting to 12%, I think it's going to get to about the high 20s, early 30s, and then we're going to get some kind of an error. It seems to be some kind of an error with interrupt handling, and so you know, so I don't really understand what the workaround is, but obviously I think we have to do a little bit more. This is not, you know, even though we seem to have everything connected properly, and you know, the MSI Z170a Pro Carbon seems to be happy. There's no debug LEDs that are flashing or that are on. There's still something not quite right for installation of Windows. So this will keep on going. I think maybe we'll pause here and then we'll show you the end point. In other words, once the failure message is going to come on, it's going to be a blue screen indicating something really, really bad has happened that Windows can't handle. So we'll show you when that's. Okay, so here's the typical screen. We got to about 28%, and then we got this you know, page fault and non-paged area. You know, it's kind of a, you know, basically something's not right here. You know, this is a brand new hardware installation, so we know that potentially, you know, there's a hardware issue going on here. But then we'll try to follow some of the you know, maybe disable BIOS memory options such as caching or shadowing. I don't know if that's what's going on with the MSI Z170a Gaming Pro Carbon, but we'll do something here to try to get this installed. But if you know how to work around this, please let us know. This is what we're seeing right now. Okay, pause.